There is a war happening right now, and you are already losing it. Not in some battlefield across the ocean, not in a boardroom, not in a courtroom. It is happening in the first 11 minutes after you open your eyes. Most men hand that war over without even knowing they were supposed to fight it. They reach for the phone before their feet hit the floor. They let the noise in before they have even decided who they are today. And then they wonder why, by 2 p.m., they feel like something has already been taken from them, something they cannot name. That thing has a name. It is called your frequency. And if you do not set it, someone or something else will set it for you. Read that again, because that is not a metaphor. That is not motivational language designed to make you feel something for 4 minutes and then forget it. That is the actual mechanics of how a human mind begins its day, and how completely that beginning determines everything that follows. Think about the last time you had a morning that started wrong, a notification that irritated you, a piece of news that unsettled you, a conversation that put you on the defensive before you even had coffee. How did the rest of that day feel? Did you recover quickly? Or did that early disturbance quietly color every interaction, every decision, every moment of patience you were asked to extend and found you did not have? That is frequency. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal something he never intended the world to read. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This was not a man writing from a life of ease. Marcus Aurelius governed the most powerful empire on earth during plague, during war, during betrayal, and personal loss that would have shattered most men. And every single morning, he made a deliberate, internal decision before he made any external one. He set his frequency before the world could set it for him. And that discipline, that one practice of owning the first moments of consciousness, is what separated him from the chaos around him. Here is what nobody tells you about mornings. Your brain, in the first moments after waking, is in a state called hypnagogia, a transition between sleep and full wakefulness. During this window, your critical mind is not fully online. Your defenses are down. Your subconscious is still near the surface. What you feed yourself in this window does not just influence your mood. It writes directly into the operating system that will run your entire day. This is why the man who grabs his phone first thing and scrolls into outrage and comparison and noise is not just having a bad morning. He is programming himself for reaction for the entire day ahead. He has handed his most vulnerable window to an algorithm that was specifically designed not to serve him, but to capture him. And this is why the man who protects that window deliberately, who chooses what enters his mind before the world gets its turn, carries himself differently, makes decisions differently, responds rather than reacts, and arrives at the end of his day with something still intact, something that most men have spent entirely by noon. Today, I am going to give you 11 lessons, not 11 tips you try for a week and abandon, not 11 things to add to an already crowded list. 11 lessons pulled from Stoic philosophy and the lived experience of men who understood that the morning is not the beginning of the day. The morning is the foundation of the man. Each one of these lessons addresses a different dimension of what it means to own your first hour. Some will feel immediately familiar. Some will land in a place you did not expect. Some will challenge a habit you have been telling yourself is harmless. Do not skip the part that makes you uncomfortable. The discomfort is the signal that something real is being touched. The part you want to move past quickly is almost certainly the part your morning has been missing. Before we go any further, drop this in the comments right now and mean it. I own my morning. I own my day. 11 lessons that will change how you start every single day from here forward. Let us begin. Lesson 1. Decide who you are before the world decides for you. Most men wake up and immediately become reactive. The alarm goes off, and within 60 seconds, they are already responding to something outside themselves. A message, a headline, a memory of yesterday's unfinished problem. They have not even stood up yet, and they are already behind, already playing catch-up in a game they never consciously agreed to play. Here is what the Stoics understood that most modern men have forgotten. Identity is not something you have. It is something you actively maintain. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who was born into slavery and rose to become one of the most respected minds in the ancient world, taught that the first task of a man each morning is to remind himself of his own principles before anything else touches him. He was not speaking abstractly. He was describing a survival mechanism for a man who had every external reason to collapse and chose every single morning not to. Before your feet touch the floor, ask yourself one question: who am I today? Not what do I have to do, not what is waiting for me, not what went wrong yesterday. Who am I today? A disciplined man, a present father, a focused builder, a man of standards. Whatever your answer is, say it internally with the full weight of someone who means it, because that declaration is the first brick in the foundation of your day, and everything you build afterward either rests on that brick or on nothing. Lesson 2. Silence is not empty. It is where your clarity lives. There is something deeply uncomfortable about silence for the modern man. Not because silence is painful, but because silence allows thoughts to surface that noise has been successfully keeping underwater. And somewhere beneath the productivity content and the background music and the podcast playing while he brushes his teeth, there are questions he has not answered, and feelings he has not processed, and a version of himself he has not fully met yet. So he keeps the noise going. Marcus Aurelius practiced what he called returning to himself each morning, a deliberate period of inner quiet before the day made its demands. He called the mind a place of retreat that a man could access at any moment if he had built the habit of going there. The first 10 minutes of your morning in complete silence is not wasted time. It is the most productive thing you will do all day, because in that silence, your mind consolidates, it prioritizes, it surfaces what actually matters beneath the layer of what feels urgent. Silence is where the real signal lives, and noise is what buries it. Start with 5 minutes if 10 feels like too much. Just 5 minutes of no phone, no music, no podcast, no input. Just you and your own mind, getting acquainted before the world shows up and starts making its case. Lesson 3. Your body votes first. Before your mind has formed a single conscious thought, your body has already cast a vote on what kind of day this is going to be. That vote is cast in cortisol, in posture, in the tension you are holding in your jaw and your shoulders, in whether you rose slowly, like someone who dreads what is coming, or whether you stood with intention, like someone who has somewhere real to go. The Stoics did not separate the mind from the body. They understood what modern neuroscience has since confirmed, that physical state drives mental state far more than most men are willing to admit. Seneca wrote, "Care for the body only so far as is needful for health and strength, not as an end in itself, but as a servant of the will." Your body in the morning is either a servant or a saboteur, and the difference is determined by what you do in the first 15 minutes after waking. It does not require an hour-long gym session at 5 a.m., although if that is your path, honor it. It requires movement, deliberate, intentional movement that signals to your nervous system that today is not a day for hiding, that your body is not something you are dragging through another 24 hours, but something you are leading into battle. 10 push-ups, 5 minutes of stretching, a cold splash of water that shocks your system into alertness. These are not biohacks. They are declarations your body makes on your behalf, before your mind has caught up. Lesson 4. Reject the first story your brain tries to tell you. Your brain wakes up before you do. By the time you are conscious, it has already begun running pattern recognition on yesterday's unresolved problems. It is already building a narrative about today, based on the emotional residue of everything that came before. And that narrative is almost never accurate and almost never generous. The first story is usually the fear story, the inadequacy story, the not enough time, not enough resources, not enough in me to handle what is coming story. The Stoic practice of negative visualization, which sounds dark and is actually the opposite, teaches a man to look directly at what he fears in the morning, not to dwell in it, but to defang it, to say, I see you, I have considered you, and I have decided that you do not govern me today. When you name the fear before it names you, the day opens differently. The man who refuses to examine his first morning thoughts is a man being driven by an unseen hand all day long. Take 30 seconds. Look at whatever your mind surfaces first. Acknowledge it. Then, consciously choose the better story, the one where you are capable, the one where today has something in it worth building. That is not delusion, that is discipline. Drop this below right now if these lessons are landing. I set my mind before the world sets it for me. Lesson 5. What you consume in the morning, you become by afternoon. There is a quiet experiment happening in millions of American households every single morning. 2 men wake up at the same time. Same city, same general circumstances, same pressures waiting for them on the other side of the day. The first man reaches for his phone within 90 seconds. He is in the news cycle, in the comment sections, in the comparison trap of watching other people's highlight reels before he has even decided what his own day is supposed to mean. By the time he leaves the house, he is already agitated, already slightly inferior, already carrying a low-grade anger he cannot fully explain to anyone, including himself. The second man does not touch his phone for the first 30 minutes. He reads one page of something that challenges him or reminds him of who he is trying to become. He sits with an idea long enough to actually think about it, rather than scroll past it. By the time he leaves the house, he is oriented. He knows what he stands for today. And that knowledge is not fragile because it came from inside, not from a feed designed to destabilize him. These 2 men will have entirely different days, not because their circumstances are different, but because their inputs were. Epictetus taught that a man must guard his mind the way a soldier guards a gate. Not everything deserves entry. And the morning gate is the most important one, because whatever passes through it first sets the conditions for everything that follows. The question is not whether you are consuming content in the morning. You are always consuming something. The question is whether what you are consuming is building the man you are trying to become, or quietly dismantling him before the day has even properly started. Lesson 6. Write the day before you live it. This is the lesson that most men hear and immediately dismiss, because it sounds too simple to be powerful. It is not simple, it is precise. Marcus Aurelius did not just journal as a reflective exercise at the end of his day. He wrote in the morning as an act of construction. He laid out what he intended to think, how he intended to respond, what principles he would hold even when the day pushed back. And the day always pushed back. What he was doing is what modern psychology now calls implementation intention, the process of deciding in advance how you will respond to specific situations before those situations arrive. Research consistently shows that people who write down not just what they want to do, but how and when and under what conditions they will do it, are dramatically more likely to follow through than people who simply hold intentions in their heads. But this is not about productivity in the narrow sense. This is about authorship. The man who writes his day before he lives it is the author of that day. The man who does not is a character in someone else's story, responding to whatever the plot throws at him, without any sense of where the narrative is supposed to go. 3 sentences is enough. What is the one thing that matters most today? Who do I intend to be in my most difficult moment? And what am I building toward that this day is supposed to serve? 3 sentences written with actual intention will do more for the quality of your day than 90 minutes of passive content consumption that leaves you full of input and empty of direction. Lesson 7. Practice gratitude like a warrior, not a victim. The word gratitude has been so thoroughly softened by modern wellness culture that many men flinch at it. It sounds passive. It sounds like acceptance of less. It sounds like something you do when you have given up on wanting more. The Stoics would not recognize that version of gratitude at all. Seneca wrote, "Everything is alien to us. Time alone is ours." He was not writing about contentment as comfort. He was writing about the fierce recognition that every morning you are given is a resource that most men treat like it is infinite when it is anything but. Stoic gratitude is not soft. It is the warrior's acknowledgement that he is still on the field, that he still has ground beneath his feet and breath in his lungs, and therefore he still has the capacity to build something that matters. The man who wakes up and genuinely acknowledges even one specific thing that is real and present in his life. Not a vague gratitude for existence, but a precise recognition of something actual. That man changes his neurological baseline for the entire day. Science confirms what the Stoics practiced 2,000 years ago. Deliberate gratitude in the morning measurably reduces cortisol, increases focus, and extends the emotional runway a man has before he hits his breaking point under pressure. This is not about feeling good. This is about being harder to break. And the man who is harder to break in the morning is harder to beat by the afternoon. If these lessons are reaching something real in you, type this right now in the comments. I am grateful, and I am still building. Lesson 8. Protect your first hour like it is your most valuable asset, because it is. Not your morning coffee, not your first meeting, not the email sitting in your inbox that feels urgent because someone else decided it was. Your first hour is the only hour of the day that belongs entirely to you. Before the world has presented its invoice, before the demands have lined up outside your door, before your attention has been sliced into pieces by everyone who has decided that their priority is your emergency. Most men give that hour away voluntarily and then spend the rest of the day wondering why they feel like they are running someone else's race. The philosopher Seneca wrote in one of his letters to his friend Lucilius something that reads as if it were written for the American man in 2025. He wrote, "Seize hold of today's task, and you will depend less on tomorrow's." He was not describing time management. He was describing psychological sovereignty, the condition of a man who does not feel perpetually behind because he begins each day by owning something real before anything is taken from him. Here is what protecting your first hour actually looks like in practice. It looks like a phone that stays face down until you have completed your morning ritual, not because you are avoiding responsibility, but because you understand that a man who arrives at his responsibilities centered and intentional handles them at a completely different level than a man who arrives already fragmented and reactive. It looks like a boundary you hold without apology, without explanation, without the need for anyone else to understand why you need this hour. Because the man who cannot hold a boundary with an inanimate object before 7 in the morning will not hold his boundaries with people when the pressure is high and the stakes are real. Your first hour is training. It is where you practice being the man you claim to be before anyone is watching to confirm or deny it. Lesson 9. Visit your future self every single morning. This is the practice that separates men who drift from men who build. Every morning, before the day consumes you, take 60 seconds and visit the man you are becoming. Not the man you wish you were, not some fantasy version of yourself with a different past and better luck. The actual man you are constructing, decision by decision, morning by morning, through the choices you are making right now in the life you actually have. See him clearly. See the physical condition he is in, because you chose consistently over comfort. See the relationships he has, because you chose presence over distraction. See the inner quiet he carries, because you chose to do the difficult internal work rather than bury it under motion and noise. The Stoics called this practice living according to nature, which is easily misunderstood. They did not mean living simply or returning to some primitive state. They meant living in alignment with your highest rational capacity, with the fullest version of what a human being is capable of becoming. Marcus Aurelius returned to this vision constantly in his private writings. He repeatedly held before himself the image of the philosopher, the man of reason and virtue, and he used that image as a compass, not as a judgment against himself, but as a direction to move toward. Your future self is not a reward for getting everything right. He is a direction. And every morning that you visit him, even briefly, you recalibrate the compass before the day tries to spin it. The man who knows where he is going cannot be lost by a bad afternoon. Lesson 10. Refuse ordinary with everything you have. Ordinary is not neutral. This is what most men never understand about settling. They think ordinary is the safe choice, the comfortable middle ground, where nothing is lost because nothing dramatic was risked. But ordinary is a slow withdrawal from the account of your potential. Every morning you wake up and choose the default version of the day, you are making a withdrawal. Every morning you accept without examination the habits that have been running on autopilot, you are making a withdrawal, and the account does not send you a statement. The balance just quietly drops. Until one day you look up and something that should have been built is simply not there. Epictetus said, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourself." That is a refusal of ordinary, dressed in philosophical language. It is the recognition that the extraordinary life does not come from extraordinary circumstances. It comes from the daily, radical insistence on bringing your full self to an ordinary day. Refusing ordinary in the morning does not mean dramatic gestures. It means doing the thing you plan to do, even when you do not feel like it. It means holding the standard you set for yourself when no one is watching. It means choosing the harder, truer version of the morning over the easier, comfortable one that leaves you slightly less than you were yesterday. That refusal, practiced every single morning, compounds. Not dramatically, not with fanfare, but quietly, irreversibly, in the direction of the man that ordinary could never produce. Claim this in the comments right now. Let it be a declaration, not just a sentence. I refuse ordinary. I choose to build. Lesson 11. Win the morning, or the morning will win you. Everything in this video has been building to this. Not as a dramatic conclusion, but as a simple, unavoidable truth that every man who has ever lived a life he was genuinely proud of discovered at some point along the way. The morning is not neutral. It is either something you win or something that wins you. And the difference between those two outcomes is not talent. It is not circumstance. It is not the alarm time or the city you live in or the pressure sitting on your shoulders. The difference is intention. A man with intention in the morning is a completely different organism than a man without it. He moves differently. He speaks differently. He absorbs the inevitable friction of the day differently. Not because his day is easier, but because he arrived at it already standing on something solid. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Concentrate every minute on doing what is in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness." He wrote those words as a reminder to himself, not as advice to posterity, because even the most powerful man in the ancient world understood that without deliberate intention, the day would consume him rather than serve him. And if Marcus Aurelius needed that reminder, so do you. So do all of us. Here is what winning the morning actually produces over time. And this is the part that most people miss, because they are looking for the dramatic transformation, the overnight shift, the moment everything changes. It does not work that way. Winning the morning is a compounding practice. Day 1, you feel slightly more centered than usual. Nothing remarkable. Day 7. You notice that your patience is lasting longer. Your decisions are cleaner. Your responses to difficulty are coming from a steadier place. Day 30. The people around you begin to notice something they cannot fully articulate. They just know that you seem different, that something has shifted in how you carry yourself. Day 90. You are a different man. Not because your life has dramatically changed, but because the foundation beneath your life has been quietly rebuilt, morning by morning, decision by decision, in those first sacred minutes before the world made its demands. That is the mathematics of the morning practice. Small, consistent, intentional inputs, producing outputs that look like transformation from the outside, but feel like integrity from the inside. Now let me bring everything together. 11 lessons, not as a checklist to complete perfectly from tomorrow, but as a framework to return to when the drift begins. Because the drift always begins. Life applies pressure. Seasons change. Discipline slips. And the question is never whether you will lose the morning occasionally. The question is whether you know how to find it again. Decide who you are before the world decides for you. Protect your silence, because your clarity lives there. Let your body vote first, and make sure it votes for you. Reject the fear story your brain writes before you are fully awake. Guard your morning inputs like a man who understands that he becomes what he consumes. Write the day before you live it, so you are its author and not its passenger. Practice gratitude like a warrior, because recognition of what you have is what fuels the fight for what you are building. Protect your first hour, because it is the only hour that is entirely yours. Visit your future self every morning, and let that vision be your compass before the day tries to spin it. Refuse ordinary, not with grand gestures, but with the daily, radical insistence on bringing your full self to an unremarkable morning. And win. Win the war that begins the moment you open your eyes. Because that war is real, and it is happening right now. And the man on the other side of 11 intentional mornings is someone you have not fully met yet. But he is there. He is being built right now in the decision you make when this video ends. In whether you return to the default or whether you choose something different. The Stoics did not wait for perfect conditions. They did not wait until life became easier or the circumstances became more favorable. They built their discipline inside the chaos, inside the empire, inside the slavery, inside the grief and the loss and the uncertainty that no amount of power or philosophy could fully insulate them from. They built it in the morning, before the chaos arrived. That is your inheritance from them. Not a philosophy to admire from a distance, but a practice to pick up and carry into the first minutes of tomorrow. The frequency you set this morning is the life you live by evening. Set it deliberately. Set it like someone who understands what is at stake. Set it like the man you are becoming would set it. If this video reached you in a place that actually matters, then you already know what to do next. Share it with one man in your life who is fighting to win his mornings, because that share might be the thing that shifts something for him. Leave a comment and tell me which of these 11 lessons hit you the hardest. I read every single one. If you are not subscribed to Stoic Origin yet, this is your sign, because this is what we do here. We build men who win the war before the world even knows it started. The morning is waiting. Go win it.